Hey guys, my name is Michelle. Welcome back. I'm really excited today because I have one of my friends that him and I were supposed to go on YouTube live today, but YouTube crashed in the middle of the live stream. So we kind of just went with the flow and hi Mahal, we just kind of went with the flow and just decided, you know what? We're just going to go live on Instagram. So I'm really excited today. I will like to introduce y'all to my friend Rogelio Diaz, and I'll just wait for him to go ahead and join the live. But how are y'all doing today? How's everyone doing? Mahal, I wanted to see if you're going to be at the shop in about a couple of hours. I wanted to go by and try some of your beautiful food. So, all right. Just bear with me while some people come into the room and join us. I look forward to seeing you later, sister. Hi, Alyssa. How have you been? I went by your work the other day to see if you were there. I couldn't find you. But it'll just be a couple of moments if y'all would just be a little patient getting my friend Rogelio here on the screen with me. So, oh, I miss you too. It's so good to see you. To see you pop up here in live. Hey, Sunny. How's it going in Germany? So good to see you here. How's life? How's your new sober life? Okay. Let me see. Just one moment, you guys. Right. There he is.
Here we are. Fresh out the shower.
Very nice. The amount of hoops that we had to jump through today to get each other face to face.
Right?
That's okay.
You guys knew.
Yeah, where there's a will, there's a way,
Right.
you know?
Right,
Yeah,
Michelle.
so thank you guys so much for joining us. And I just wanted to introduce my friend Rogelio Diaz. He is a higher embodiment coach and he's a spiritual development speaker that is currently living in Austin, Texas. He is here to guide spiritual entrepreneurs in identifying, embodying, and sharing their gifts with the collective. So I'm really grateful for your presence today. He has also worked with entrepreneurs and that are the best in their field. And now he's using his knowledge and wisdom that he's acquired through experiences and helping people live to their full potential. He is also coaching and is designed to coach the highest divine timeline and is here to give you practical tools and strategies, techniques to live there. He is here to guide those who have lost hope in themselves and to help them in creating the reality of their dreams. So I'm really excited to have my friend here today. Thanks for being here with me, Rogelio.
Thank you for that lovely introduction,
Yeah,
Michelle.
absolutely. So one of the purposes of today's live stream is just to talk to Rogelio about his spiritual awakening, the things that he's been experiencing, and what was the catalyst for your spiritual awakening, Rogelio? What was the cause of it?
I'm sure many can relate, Michelle. A lot of pain. A lot of pain, my friend. Um, at 22, I'm 29 now. I'm about to turn 30. Even saying that, like, oh man, where the time go? Um, it, I found myself at 22, Michelle, everybody listening, an alcoholic with a DUI, out of a job, cheated on, no friends, living with my parents, and having no hope, no purpose in life. And I remember going to sleep one night just saying, is this going to be the rest of my life? Just drinking half a bottle of Bombay every other day, just to escape. And I made I made a choice that night. After all that happened, everything I just shared, like, no, it's not. I'm gonna do one thing to better my life every day. Just one thing. I'm gonna learn one thing. prove myself. And that I lit a fire under me after that, Michelle. But it took all that pain, that stacking of suffering of those events to get me to that point. While again, I was drunk, I was under the influence. Even in that state, my spirit came through, which is crazy. It's like no matter, even in that state. So that, in a nutshell, that's really what pushed me to get on this path of spiritual development, buddy.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for sharing that. I can definitely relate, Rogelio, because I think that was the thing for me too. Is just I had endured like so much pain and suffering, and constantly just drowning myself in alcohol or other mind-altering substances. But it's amazing how our spirit, like our true self, still is able to come through whenever we have placed these subconscious blocks over our true self, but still it ends up shining through, which is absolutely amazing. And I'm really grateful to have had the opportunity to meet you. What year did you go through your spiritual like reawakening?
So it would probably, I think it'd be in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2016. Yeah. Again, 22. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What did it feel like when you were going through that process? Did you have a lot of support? Do you have other family members that were going through something that was similar? Did you feel alone? What was that experience like for you?
I'm sure many can relate to this question and this response, Michelle. I felt very alone. No, nobody else around me was waking up. It was just me, the black sheep, right? Mm-hmm. And I got into a lot of arguments with my current friends at that time because I was trying to share about law of attraction and the laws of the universe and look like guys, we're energy, and it's like. Yeah. Like, yeah, you're freaking crazy, dude. Like, what are you talking about? And I felt very alone. But that was so needed. Michelle, I'm sure you can agree. It was so needed for you to get to know yourself, to find more of yourself, to learn how to lead yourself. And because I didn't have anybody, because as you raise your level of conscious, people that are not at that frequency naturally just drift away. You get time to know yourself. You study yourself. You remove like the subconscious blocks you were referring to earlier. So I was alone for a good year and a half, and I had to be all right with that. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, I feel that whenever you shared that, Rogelio, it just gives me chills because it's a reoccurring theme amongst the perceived individuals that are going through their reawakening. It's like suddenly you realize the world isn't what you always were taught that it is, and suddenly you take personal responsibility to change everything in your life, and you look around and you're like, dang it, like I'm all alone in this. Like there's nobody that's on the same path that I'm on. And I went through the same thing too, where I was trying to teach everybody that I came in contact with, like about the law of attraction, everything is energy, like all the things that you mentioned, but no one had the ears to hear. No one had the understanding that I had. No one had, I guess, like the same pair of glasses that I was wearing. No one could see out or had the sight that I had. And so I came to a position where I was just like, okay, like, I guess this is just me for now. And I had to get to a point of acceptance that, you know what, like I'm going to no longer rely on anybody outside of me to make me feel comfortable with where I'm at right now. It's okay that this is uncomfortable. It's okay that I feel alone. It's okay that I'm in isolation in a sense. It was kind of like a lot of people in the spiritual community will call this like the cocoon phase, where it's like, okay, you have an opportunity, and it was perfect for me. And I won't, it was perfect for me because when I went through my reawakening, it was in 2019. And then shortly after that, the pandemic had begun and we were told that we couldn't go outside. So I chose to go within, and it was perfect because in that time, like we couldn't really go outside. We didn't have the ability to just do all the things that we'd always done. So I chose to go within myself, and I'm grateful for that time that I spent alone, because it allowed for like so much introspection and so much change to occur.
Beautifully said, Michelle. And that was the perfect time to go within. It
Mhm.
really was, buddy.
Yeah, for sure. What,
Wow.
so if there's people, followers of mine or yourself that are watching this live stream right now, do you have any suggestions as to what they can do in the moments when they feel completely isolated and alone?
Yeah. You know, I think those moments, they're always going to be, they're always going to come, right? One way or another. They're always going to come. Like you, because you're always learning, you're evolving. Um, yeah, I love that question, Michelle. I would say, don't let that be your defining moment. Meaning, just because you feel, you feel bad, or you're doubting your journey or yourself, or things like that, you feel like things are not going your way, the way it should be going. Like, what if you're actually getting what you wanted? I want to challenge your perspective. What if you actually really, your spirit, you're not getting what your ego thinks you need, but what your spirit actually wants for you. Like, what if, just what if nothing is wrong? I always say, Michelle, what if,
Right.
right? Because from my experience, every time I doubted myself, I said, what am I doing wrong? Why am I not here? Why am I here? After I move up that inch, it makes perfect freaking sense.
Yeah.
And oh, I wasn't ready. I needed to learn this lesson. I needed to understand this about myself. Like, and trust me, I fought tooth and nail, tooth and nail to not trust my journey. But
Mhm.
after you go through so many experiences, you realize it's like nothing's really wrong. Be patient. Be freaking patient.
Mhm.
Like that's what I would say, Michelle. Like trust what you cannot understand.
Yeah.
No reality.
I like the way that you put that. It actually gave me chills whenever you said, what if you actually are getting what you want? What if this is exactly what your spirit needs? And I feel that the false self, the person that has limiting beliefs, the person that feels like victimized, the person that feels alone and in isolation is the false self, and that's the false self's perspective. Whenever I was going through my reawakening phase too, like I was scared. I was like, I felt it in moments like desperation to connect with other human beings that were on the same journey as I was. But then I came to a point of just acceptance that, like, maybe, like what you said, Rogelio, like maybe this is exactly what I need in this moment. Maybe I need to sit with these feelings, of these perceived feelings of loneliness. And over time, like I realized like there's a big difference between being lonely and being alone. Like I don't need to, just because I'm sitting in a room by myself during this pandemic and I'm alone, does not mean that I have to be lonely. Like I remember during that time having the ability to finally hear like my spirit guides and my ancestors, and my audience started to come online, and it was because I was detached from the outside world and the other influences that I was basically being exposed to, just being in the world. So I'm grateful for the time that I chose to spend by myself. What do you think? What was the most important practice that you utilized, like at the very beginning of your spiritual journey?
I'm absolutely loving these questions, Michelle. I think because everybody, like everything that we're talking about, like people are either living it, they lived it, or they're about to. Like
Mm-hmm.
um, it it would have to say practice of taking risks.
Mm.
That was the biggest. I was so afraid to freaking jump. I was so afraid. I would hold on to the rope. I would not want to let go. But every time I did, I always grew. I always expanded. I mean, you know part of my story, Michelle. Like 3 years ago, I drove to Sedona. My mom and dad were telling me to fly out. This was in the middle when COVID was just starting, right? They were telling me, Roy, you really want to drive 24 hours to Sedona, Arizona? And I was told in a 7-hour QHHT session by the facilitator that she saw me driving on the road to Sedona, to Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, if that's not a sign, bro, I don't know what. Like,
right.
so, and I am so grateful that I took that leap, that I drove, because of that, I was able to stay there. Then I didn't know I was going to make up my mind at that point to go through that 4-day retreat and then stay there. Uh-huh. But I had a car, and that was so helpful. But every time I jumped, when I went to personal training school to get my diploma, right? I didn't know I was going to meet a mentor, multi-millionaire mentor there, and get my personal training studio that same year. Like I was planning on like I had a 5-year plan, but got accelerated because I took the leap. Right? I moved out of my parents because I took the leap. There's so much that I was able to do because I jumped, even while I was afraid. So like, you can practice the skill of taking risks, mm-hmm. on yourself, right? Betting on yourself. You'll really find yourself and what you're made of. You'll tap. I feel like those experiences make you tap into your strength, like the real freaking strength. If you don't have that, if you don't need your strength, then you're not going to go looking for it, mm-hmm. right, Michelle? And you can relate. Like when you left that old life behind you, buddy. Like you needed to tap into that strength, that courage to let it go, to move on. Like, but without it, what's the need of it?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It makes a lot of sense, Rogelio. Like one of the things. There's a lot of things, to be honest, that you keep saying that just keep giving me chills. And it's like, dang, that's good. Because taking risks for me has been one of the most pivotal points in my life. Is just like, because for me, for as far back as I can remember, I was always this very timid, very much like very scared little girl that was always afraid to take chances and to take risks because I did not want to fail. And that fear of failing always kept me in the place of stagnation. And so it's like, gosh, when I got sober, I realized everything that I had been doing in my life wasn't working. So something else needed to be done. So for example, if my mind told me, hey, Michelle, like you probably shouldn't reach out to that person and ask for help, I would ask for help. If it told me that I shouldn't join this coaching program, I joined the coaching program. If it told me like, don't DM this person, like they have way too many followers, they're not going to respond to you and they're never going to want to collaborate with you, send the DM anyway. You know, it's just like a consciously making the decision to do the opposite of what my ego is telling me. It's just making that conscious decision to put myself in places where things usually would make me uncomfortable, because there is just so much growth that can occur whenever I've done things like that. I wanted to kind of go back to the whole Sedona thing, and I think that's whenever you and I had first connected was right. I remember finding you, and I can't remember if it was exactly on Facebook or YouTube or what. I think it was on Facebook or something, because I remember seeing posts of you at the 4-day retreat. And that was like, it feels like a lifetime ago. Oh my gosh.
No.
But what was it like living there, like with all the vortexes or vortices? What was the energy like? I've never been there before.
Yeah. There, it's beautiful, Michelle. But just want to take a quick second to thank Nye and Alyssa, and guys, like thank you for being here and listening, and I couldn't agree more with what Nye said too, Michelle. Like, having find faith in your beliefs and your higher power, and Alyssa seems to be, to agree with that. Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more, buddy. But yes, in regards to your question, Michelle, it was intense. I'm going to be talking about this on Saturday, but it was intense. Like I went back to drinking. Like I went because I had all this trauma on being alone, and I didn't even know was still there.
Yeah.
I literally went back to drinking for like 2 months because even though I met my soul fam, like at the retreat, I'm getting ahead of myself. Before that happened, at the retreat, I met my soul tribe, my soul family. I healed a bit. Right? I met Vic. It was incredible, bro. Like just being able to. I drove 20 hours to get there. I took like 1,300 milligrams of caffeine a day because I was trying to go. I was trying to arrive, and it was such a beautiful experience. But again, afterwards, when I was just jumping motel to motel, hotel to hotel. I stayed at this place called the Element for like 3 days just to buy some time. I felt so free. I felt so free after 27 years of living at my parents and like just feeling limited. Honestly, I felt nothing on them, but there's some stuff that I wanted to do that I couldn't. Right, that I couldn't because I needed my own place in that sense, and it felt so freeing. I went to Flagstaff, I went to Surprise, I went to Phoenix, Arizona, Scottsdale. I was traveling, making it up, surreal freaking traveler, bro. Like, and it was so exciting yet so frightening because it's like I got what I wanted, and it just came all at once. And I was like, oh shit, what do I do with this? Like, what do I do with all this freedom, right? Like, and that's why I think I went to back to drinking because I was like, what do I do with this? Oh man, like I would literally go eat 2 healthy meals at this place called Chocolate Tree and at this place called what's it called, Local Juicery, and then I would go to Whole Foods and get a bottle. And Thank God I flew out to New York. I don't know if I ever shared that. I flew out to New York to drive 2 of my soul fam, 2 of my soul fam friends back to Arizona because they didn't have a license, and that's what got me to stop after those 2 months, like from after the retreat. But it was intense. Sedona's freaking intense. You want to really test yourself? Go stay a month. Go stay a month in Sedona, my friends. Like but it's also again, it's so beautiful. It's beautifully intense. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Michelle. But you got to visit, buddy.
Yeah.
You got to visit.
Yeah. Not for a month though. maybe about after a little bit more spiritual work. But it looks absolutely beautiful though. But one of the things that that stood out to me was that you said that you started to drink, and I'm wondering if that was because of all the things that started to come to fruition in your life, like that you didn't expect. Is that what you're saying?
It was more because I was afraid to be alone. Oh. I think
being alone.
Yeah, yeah. I think more than anything, I have trauma around being alone, to say the least, like sexual trauma in regards to that, and I think that's really what was coming up at that point, and that, yeah, like, I wasn't ready to feel that or to go. And I think that's why, honestly.
How did you get to the point? And I really appreciate, like, I just want to say, like, I really appreciate your vulnerability and everything that you're sharing with us. And I can relate to like that sexual trauma and that fear of being alone. When did you get to the point where did you get to a point where you decided to stop drinking?
Yeah, buddy. Yeah. And it appears as well as Alyssa's gone through something similar, my friend. It all makes sense why we're here, Like, yeah, good stuff for you too, Alyssa. Good stuff, buddy. Welcome, Jason, as well. Yeah, Michelle. I thank Serena. I really do. My girlfriend, my future wife. I thank Serena because if it wasn't for me having to fly out to New York to drive them, right? They flew me out, my girlfriend Serena and our friend at the time, they both flew me out to New York. I've never been to New York, to drive them back to it, to Sedona, Arizona. We're all gonna move there and get a ranch together, and we had this huge dream. You know, life goes. But if it wasn't for that, I don't know. I don't know how much longer I would have stayed in that cycle. You know, maybe until I healed that trauma. But that's what got me to stop drinking, Michelle. Everyone, like, I changed my environment, and I didn't want to be that anymore when I was around Serena, when I was around, like, I can't do that. You know, I'm not going to be drinking every day at your freaking apartment, bro. Like, I'm not doing that. So that's honestly, again, it's crazy, right? Like, that addiction came back, but it's just an escape. And that's what got me. Thank them, thank Spirit that I got flown out, and it was a new experience.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. I'm really grateful that you have Serena and those other friends too. One of the things for me that was really helpful for my sobriety, and I wanted to welcome Tom and Three Pandas and everyone else that's watching. I appreciate y'all being here so much and interacting with us. And one thing that I wanted to mention is if any of y'all have any questions for either of us, just put them in the comments and we'll definitely get to them. So one of the things that was really helpful, I can see for yourself and for me as well, was getting a change of environment for me. Changing the environment. Like, a lot of people say that, you know what, no matter where you go, there you are. And that's true, because no matter where you go in the world, if you go from a different city to another state or something like that, it's true, you will be there with yourself always. But me changing my environment, letting go of the toxic relationships, letting go of the relationships that no longer served me, stepping aside and being away from the places that I thought were causing like relapse triggers, in a sense, things that were kind of like caused me to feel like I couldn't be sober if I was around certain places. I can't think of the word. But that was really helpful for me, because I moved from San Antonio to Austin, Texas. I didn't know anybody in Austin whatsoever. I was away from my family. I was away from my friends. I was away from the places and all the things that were like triggers for me. And that was really helpful to me to let go of all those toxic relationships, to let go of the places, and to kind of just build myself a secure foundation in my sobriety with healthy people, with like-minded individuals, with people that wanted to see me grow. And I was no longer the black sheep, because I was starting to build a tribe and a family around me. Whenever I became secure in who I was and I let go of what I wasn't, then that is when my real tribe, my soul family, started to appear, because they were attracted to my true self, not who I was pretending to be like my entire life. Does that make sense to you?
Perfect sense.
Yeah.
Beautiful thing being yourself on the show.
It really is. It's like, I don't know, and I'm sure like so many of y'all can relate, but for most of my life, I was constantly like a chameleon, and I was constantly adjusting who I was according to who I was hanging around with. So for example, I'll just take it back to like grade school. If I was hanging around athletes, I was an athlete. If I was hanging around musicians, I was a musician. If I was hanging around the punks, like, I dressed like a punk. If I was hanging around people with piercings, I got piercings. If I was hanging around people that had 2 tattoos, I'm going to go get a tattoo with you. You know, Dave says that removing the negative people, places, and things, and grasping onto the positive to better yourself. That's absolutely true, Dave. Like, I had to, or I chose to, let go of those negative people and those things. And I chose to shift my focus from like that limited lack mindset onto a positive mindset. And that for me has been really helpful in my journey. And I'm grateful now that I've been sober for like 3 years and 9 months. I am doing better with being more comfortable in who I truly am, and no longer having or choosing to be a chameleon, no longer choosing to transform into whoever it is that I'm around, and staying in my own truth and awareness. What do you think has been helpful for you, Rogelio, in making that decision for you to just truly be yourself and no longer have to like transform who you are?
Mm. Well, first, Michelle, I just want to, man, that was deep, and I know you spoke to somebody here. You spoke to me, buddy, like just with all that real, and it's like, what? Why would you want to be somebody else besides yourself? Like once you get to that level of consciousness, right, Michelle, you realize, like, I want to be me. I want to be free. I gotta be me. There's no quote like, but it's so true. Everything you said is so true, sister. And kudos to you, my friend. Just before I even say anything else, like just kudos to you. Like that, it's powerful. It's powerful. That's inspiring, bro. Like, you know, to overcome so much adversity in that sense. But yeah, buddy. In regards to myself, and I think the best thing that happened to me was that I didn't get the love that I wanted. I didn't get the validation, the appreciation that I wanted, because I felt like and again, it's nothing to my parents, but you as a kid, you make up these stories, right? It's how you feel. Like I didn't feel I got the love that I needed. My mom was always out working, and again, I understand now, but I didn't feel like I got the love that I needed. And I remember in a breathwork ceremony, after like in the middle of it, I remember saying, "Mom, where were you? Where were you?" Right? And it's just like that pain of this kid missing his mom, missing his dad. And it makes, like, once you know where it originated from, like, oh shit, like I'm playing out this love that I never got. Like I went so much of my life trying to receive love, trying to receive validation, acceptance from other people, from mentors, from people that I looked up to, right? Like authority figures, because I was just projecting that wound onto somebody that reminded me of my parent, right? So once I realized, once I found my own love, once I realized that, oh, bro, like if you keep looking outside, you're always going to be disappointed. You never find what you're looking for. You never find that love for yourself. And once I started actually being more compassionate with myself and actually soothing myself, and like in those moments where I made a mistake or I did something wrong, I was like, bro, you're doing good. And what I love, you can't F this up. You can't get it wrong, buddy. And like really, I'm like literally parenting myself. And that was so hard to do. It was so hard to, for whatever reason, to give that love to myself. And I would always look outside and the people pleasing, Michelle, right? It's like, if I do this, will you love me? Even though I don't want to do this, like you, right? Or if I show you who I actually am, will you still love me? Like it's crazy how much this wound affects every relationship, life, and it's not even who you are. But that, when I realized that the best thing somebody can do was not validate you, not love you, because that was an opportunity for you to give that to yourself. I had that moment, like that aha moment, like I need to do this for me. I got me. You don't gotta fuck with me. I fuck with me, right? As what Russ says. I love that quote by Russ. like I got me. And if you can realize you got you, everything else is just, it's a plus. It's extra, man. It's just, that's what helped me, my friends.
Yeah, you know, and I can relate with so many things that you said. One of the things was, will you still love me if I'm the real me? Will you still love me if I show you who I truly am? Like that, I remember feeling that so many times and making the conscious decision. This is before I had my Awaken, making the conscious decision, like, you know what, I'm just going to be who you want me to be so that you can love me, because I need this love. And it just got to a point for me where I was just like, you know what, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to adjust who I truly am according to who I'm hanging out with, because I need to do this for me. I need to love me. Like, me changing myself and being a chameleon around other people is just me telling me, like, you know what, you're not good enough. You're not okay. You're not whole. Who you truly are is not enough for anybody. And it's just like, and when I say those things out loud, it's like very blatantly obvious, like, that's not true. There's no one that's like me. There's no one that's like you. And that's what I love about just being here on this planet, on Earth, and interacting with other human beings, because we're so different. We think so differently. Yes, like, we go through different things in our life, but we're also so much the same. But I also found myself, like, projecting what I needed, like, from my mom or from my dad onto other people, and I was constantly looking for that validation outside of myself, and kind of like giving people like a role in my life. Like, even though, like, you're my friend, like, I'm looking for this in my dad. Like, will you be my dad? You know, subconsciously, are you going to give me the validation that my father never gave me? Are you going to give me the validation that I was also always seeking from, like, my family? And it's like, it's important. It was really important for me to get to the point where I was just like, you know what, stop projecting all of these things outside of myself. And I realized a little while after I went through my reawakening that, you know what, everything is within me. It always has been. And that, to me, that was one of the biggest realizations. Like, I've been told, Rogelio, so many times, like, everything you have is within you, Michelle. And it's like, wait, what? What do you mean? That didn't register. But whenever I actually had an understanding of what that truly meant, it was like, oh, you're right. Like, it's been here all along. Yeah.
That's funny, bro. You go your whole life looking everywhere.
Yes.
Everywhere.
Yes.
Down.
Yes. You go your whole life, just the way that you put it, it's just like your whole entire life. It's like the media, society, our family, the government, our employers, like, everything that we're taught from the media, movies, television, and everything is like, oh, you need this. You need this to be happy. This is going to make you feel complete. Buy this new car. That's going to make you feel like a man. You know, have this new relationship. Go get these implants, because then men are really going to be attracted to you and love you then. Buy this new iPhone, you know, then you can connect with people on social media in ways you never have before. It's like constantly being fed, like, lies upon lies upon lies. And then whenever, like, I went through my reawakening, it was kind of like putting on that fresh pair of glasses and seeing all the manipulation tactics that are being done, like, through everything. So
yeah, so,
it's just like,
no wonder it's hard, you know, to trust yourself.
yeah. Dave says the realization of being true to oneself is the ultimate spiritual awareness and the awakening for him.
Fuck yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Tavius, welcome. Good to see you, brother. Are you going to be at the event this Saturday? I sure hope so. Be great to see you. Yeah, all we needed to do was search within to be validated. And that's true. It's like, sometimes, and I don't know if you can relate, Rogelio, but there's times when the false identity and the false self will creep in, and it tells me that I need outside validation for this or that. But I can see that, and then sometimes, like, I bite the hook in a sense. Like, I'll bite the hook, and it's like, you need outside validation. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll follow it for a little while. It's like, oh wait, no, I don't need it, you know. And then I come right back to center, and I come right back to who I truly am, and I realize, no, that's just an illusion.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
On point. That's right on point. And yeah, definitely.
Oh man. One of the things that I wanted to ask you too is about reparenting yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Man,
Oh.
that compassion, that we need to learn for ourselves and reparent ourselves. What was that journey like for you? Can you go a little bit further in depth about that reparenting that you
Yeah.
experienced?
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're all learning this, honestly, Michelle. Like
Mm-hmm.
how to give this to ourselves, right? This is actually what I like. Yeah. Well, I won't share that just yet. When it was actually like I used to be I used to have that old school, like, traditional mentality of like just push through and like talk trash to myself so I can get X done. And it worked for a little bit. It worked for a little bit, but then it got to the point where it wasn't working anymore. The anger wasn't enough. The freaking like stop being that, like, I would tell myself like, shut the F up, Roy, just do the work, right? Just like all this, like this always like old school get stuff done mentality. And I realized like, yo, you gotta come down, Roy. And it was actually Serena that helped me really soothe myself, because I would have my moments and she would stop me every time and she would say, Roy, what do you need to tell yourself right now? And I'm like, no, I don't want to say it. I'm not going to, like, I would resist and resist because it was so uncomfortable for me. It was,
Yeah.
I never did. It's the complete opposite of what I would do when I would get in these states of like frustration or triggered, or, my own unconscious blocks would come up, and I had to learn. And through Serena telling me, stopping me every time, and Roy, what do you need to hear? What do you need to tell yourself right now? And I would put my hand on my heart and I would say, I love you, Roy, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get it wrong. You didn't mess anything up. You got this, right? And I would literally talk to my inner child, right, to myself as a kid. And I remember this one specific moment where I really had a breakthrough in the show. Like I was finishing up this sales call. I was about to close it. And here came one of my famous blocks, bro. Like there's this belief that I struggled with of you're gonna F it up in the end. You're gonna F it up in the end. And it was like the sale was done.
Mm-hmm.
I just needed to send this email with some extra information. Done. And I literally froze. Like this fear state just came up. I froze. I was shaking. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, what? I've done this a million times. Like, what? Like, and I'm like, all right. I think the questions really help. The questions really help. And I'm like, all right, I put my hand on my heart and I ask myself, and I always refer to my inner child as Roy, right? Like Rogelio, that's like the person speaking right now. But Roy is like my inner child, right? It's like, Roy, what's really going on? And then I say, I'm afraid. What are you afraid of, Roy? I'm afraid to F this up. Why? Because I've effed up stuff in the past. And I'm like, you can't get it wrong, buddy. You're good. It's okay. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to F this up. And I took a couple deep breaths, and I felt so calm.
Mm-hmm.
Felt like, oh, you know what? I'm right. I'm right. And then I just finished the email and I sent it and everything was fine. And those are the moments I'm referring to where you're literally like in a paralyzed state.
Mm-hmm.
So much fear, or like, your blocks are coming up. And you tell yourself, hey, I still love you. You're good, man.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about it. Like, I'm here, bro. Like, I'm gonna guide you, right? That's what I consider soothing, Michelle, and that's the reparenting, buddy. That for me, like, really, and I teach that to my clients, and it's funny, when my client says he hears my voice when he's reparenting, I'm like, bro, like, that's cool, but I need you to hear your voice. Hear your voice. Like,
yeah.
Start, it's a start.
Yeah, I hear you.
How about
It's
you,
kind of
Michelle?
like, what was that?
How about you, buddy? How's this journey for you of reparenting? What do you do for yourself?
Yeah, for reparenting, what I like to do is visualize. Like, I like the way that you brought you said that like classic blocks start to come up, right? Those classic blocks, those things that continue to come up whenever we're going through situations. And for me, it's like um, having that same feeling like this, like I'm going to fail. I can't do this. I'm going to be made fun of. No one's going to like me. No one's going to understand the words that I'm using to express my thoughts and things like that. So in times like that, what I like to do is I will go into a meditative state and close my eyes, and I will imagine myself in an empty room, and there's like, it's a white empty room, and there's a chair here and there's a chair here, and I invite my current state of consciousness to sit in this chair on the right hand side, and then I invite my my child self to sit in the chair on the left hand side, and we're sitting here together, and I ask myself, my adult self, my current state of consciousness, and I ask the child, like, what is it that you need? What is it that you need in this moment? What are you afraid of? And we kind of like have this inner dialogue, and just talk to each other about whatever it is that there is going on. And most of the time it was something that occurred to me, that occurred whenever I was a child, something that where I felt victimized or gone through like a traumatic event, or I feel like I wasn't heard, or I feel like I wasn't loved, or I feel like I was pushed away in situations like that. And I treat myself with the utmost love and respect and understanding for what is occurring, and I encourage myself, like, it's okay. I love you. We can do this. Things are different now. I'm no longer that person. And sometimes when I start to remember like traumatic events of things that occurred to me whenever I was a child, I realized that whoever was treating me in a specific way was treating me from a place of pain and suffering, and it was an inner projection of something that was going on within their life, and it actually had nothing to do with me. I was just happened to be like an innocent bystander in that situation, and I've always been whole, and that I'm safe to be who I truly am.
Yeah. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. That's a technique right there, my friend.
Yeah. I
Love that.
I can also relate to you as well, Rogelio, whenever you were talking about being real hard on yourself and having that inner dialogue, like push through, like being real, that real masculine, like grind, like you got to keep going, and started you. And I would like use profanity with myself. Like and I don't even want to say what I used to say to myself. But it was like this really ugly, controlling, dominant, masculine energy. And I'm so grateful that I've set that aside, because it was very toxic for me. I mean, it allowed me to get some work done and to accomplish goals and everything, but it was so outside of who I truly was that I felt like I was draining my own energy, trying to be something that I wasn't, trying to be like this real dominant male type of thing. I was doing this one program. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's called 75 Hard.
Yeah.
Okay. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, the book is right here. 75 Hard. Andy Frisella.
Yep.
This dude owns like a bunch of companies. Very, very successful.
Yeah, I used to listen to him a lot.
Yeah. Well, so I used to do 2-a-days. I used to do 2 workouts a day, read 10 pages of a nonfiction novel, drink a gallon of water, take a progress picture, and then something else. So I was constantly listening to people like him and just other people. And it was so exhausting because I was being this person that I wasn't. And I was constantly like pushing myself to like every extreme possible, because I actually felt like I wasn't going to achieve the goals that I wanted to achieve in life. But in order to achieve those goals, like I had to like push myself so hard. And it was so exhausting. Like I've looked back at some YouTube lives that I've done, like at the very beginning of the year, and I just looked absolutely drained and exhausted from pushing myself like that. I don't ever know if you've ever thought about this, but there's a lot of YouTube videos about telling people to like grind, 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 you know? And it's like, if you think about it, grinding is putting something that's whole and grinding it into powder. Like, why would I want to grind myself
Yeah.
into powder? Like, I'm okay, I'm great as this whole being. I don't need to grind myself into tiny little pieces
Yeah.
energetically. Like, that doesn't sound like a good thing to do.
Right, right, Michelle.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I've seen that. Um, welcome, Melissa. You know what I found, Michelle,
What's
from
that?
like why this grind mentality, why this work so hard till you drop mentality comes in. I feel it's just a theory of mine that I work with Mother Ayahuasca, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
this showed me about myself, and it's usually connected with other people. Like we felt so weak, or we feel so weak, and we have to put this masking, this layer on top of ourselves to prove that we're strong. If I work 12 hours, I'm strong, or even I'm enough. One of the
Uh-huh.
freaking two,
Right.
right? If I do this, I'm strong. And it's such an illusion, bro. It's like you don't there's not saying that there's not resilience built to doing hard things. I believe in stretching yourself and challenging yourself. But when it's to the point of like you're exhausted every day, you're burnt out, you're not happy, like it's like you're trying to prove something to yourself. It's like for me again, it's just trying to prove that I'm strong. So I can't even ask for help. That was what I can't even ask for help. If I ask for help, I'm weak, and it was a freaking belief, right? If I don't have this David Goggins mentality, I'm weak. If I don't, like
Yes.
it's like this identity that we create for ourselves to protect ourselves, to
Yeah.
give us the feeling that we're strong, but we already are, bro. Like we don't like yeah, like take the leap, take those risks, work out if you want to, but there's nothing to freaking prove.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's what I found with like this whole healing thing on that, Michelle. Like having that grind 24/7 mentality. Like, what are you really trying to prove, bro?
Yeah.
That you're enough, that you're strong. Like, what's really behind that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you so much for shedding light on all of that. I'm on the same page with you there too. Like I have David Goggins books over here.
Yeah, yeah, bro.
All yeah, like there's
Love
another one right
that
here.
book. I love that
It's
book.
and I mean there's a lot of really amazing takeaways from these books from these entrepreneurs and
There is.
people that have really transformed their life, but I have realized that gosh, there's no need for me to try to prove anything to anyone. Like, it's okay. Like, yes, it's important to work out. Yes, it's okay to have a spiritual practice. Yes, it's okay to hire a coach or intuitive guide or something like that. But eventually, I got to a place where it's like, okay, I need to trust my wisdom. I need to trust what it is that I'm experiencing in my life and transmute all of the pain and the suffering into wisdom and be able to rely on myself rather than relying on something outside of myself. So, yeah, I think we have about a couple of minutes left here. Is there anything else that you wanted to add before we wrap this up, Rogelio?
Yeah, let's have some final thoughts, huh, Michelle? Um, yeah, I just wanted to say one thing on what you just shared too. Like, there's a time and place for it. I'm not saying, right, like to be lazy and sit on your butt all day and do nothing. Like, there's a time and place for that mentality. But when it's 24/7, when it's overdone, that's what I'm like. You know what? Like, you don't like there's something behind that. But I do believe in like, yo, you got to get stuff done,
Mhm.
right? Like, it's just yeah, that's just to clarify too, so people
Mhm.
don't get the message confused. Yeah. But for final thoughts, I just want to say like it's like if there's something that you want to do that you feel you got to get, feel you got a dream, what are you waiting for? Go out and do it, my friend. Like you know, we wait so long to ask for permission from other people. You know, we try to, you know, whether it's a mentor, whether whatever it is, like, am I good enough to go do it? Right? Know enough? Have I been on this journey enough? Like, yo, like, you don't just share what you've lived, share your pain, share your hurt. If you got a gift, go out and share it. You got a story, go out and share it. It's literally what me and Michelle are doing right now. Share your story. You never know who it could help. Somebody's story. Eric Thomas, the #1 motivational speaker, his story stopped me, or his story, not stopped me. His story actually, I mean, yeah, his story stopped me from giving up. Like, you never know. Like, everything you've been through is for a higher reason. Maybe you're meant to help somebody else that was where you were at a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Like your story can save other stories, man. Like, I'm a big believer. Like, go out and share yourself. Share yourself with the world, man. Don't let nobody don't let nobody direct your life. Don't be a character in somebody else's movie. It's one of the greatest things that I've learned, man. You don't want to do that. That's what I'll leave it with, Michelle. How about you, buddy?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for being here with me. I'm so grateful for you, Rogelio. I just wanted to invite y'all, if anybody here is living in San Antonio, Texas, Rogelio and I will be sharing the stage with some other amazing artists and creative people that are here to just basically be of service to y'all. We're here this Saturday at Third Eye Healing CBD in Kava Lounge. I will put a link in the comments or the description, whatever it's called here on Instagram, for you guys to come and listen to us. We're going to be there from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. There's going to be some really amazing conscious vendors there. And Rogelio and I will be sharing the stage with AE and Tavia's Soul. Rogelio and I will be speaking about our spiritual awakening journey. And I'll also be talking about spiritual gifts and how you can actually uncover those gifts yourself, because to be honest, we're all endowed with these spiritual gifts, but there are certain things that need to be removed before we can actually realize them. So I thank y'all so much for watching. And again, Rogelio, thank you so much for being here. I love you so much, and I look forward to seeing you on Saturday. Take care.
Everybody, love,
All
Michelle.
right.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.